As I shared with the children, at this time of year, there are many religious holidays that are celebrated. There's another one that I didn't mention, actually, a Unitarian Universalist holiday called Chalaka. Seriously, which, although not very popular even among Unitarians, does exist. Chalaka celebrates our principles, which by agreeing to be members of the UUA, we covenant to affirm and promote. The third principle, which I would like to focus on today, is the acceptance of one another and the encouragement to spiritual growth in our congregations. As well, the mission and vision of our congregations speak to embracing individual searches for meaning and feeding the mind and spirit, regardless of the pathway. At the beginning of each service, we say we are a pluralistic religion, which draws wisdom from many sources. Now, pluralism is much easier talked about than lived out, though. And we are actually starting to walk down this path, this theological path, with our new source teams, our spiritual practices and programs team, and our adult religious education offerings that allow people to become educated about the different sources and will allow people, if they choose, to go deeper into any particular source. Later in the service, we're going to hear from two congregants from our new earth-based tradition source team who will share why that source is meaningful to them. And the challenge to us will be to answer the question, what holds us together as we each go down these different paths? What will be the unity in our community? The only answer to that question rests with all of you. Whether you are truly committed to this pluralistic vision, whether you are truly supportive of your fellow members' search and beliefs and practices that may be different than yours, whether you are opening yourself to experiencing something different from what you hold fast to, and whether it changes you or not, whether you are willing to experience it for the greater good of the larger vision. Ultimately, each one of us together, I know that's an interesting juxtaposition of words, but each one of us together are the unity in this community. It's not just one more well-crafted newsletter article, although I know how much you're riveted waiting for that. It's not just one more meeting or one more additional program. But it's all of you coming together with all of your diversity. I do actually look at us sort of as a microcosm of the larger world. I look at us as a place where we can create an environment where we all can respect each other and learn from each other and care for each other. And that involves trusting each other and being open with each other and being willing to share with each other without judgment. And to respect each other even when we disagree with someone. It is what I would call a relational theology. And that God or goddess or beauty or love or mystery or whatever word that you would use to describe that feeling of the ineffable is found or lost within our relationships with each other. And if we can find that magic, that power of right relationship, we can be a model for the world and for others. And so often, I have to tell you, I meet newcomers who come to our congregation and they're just sort of shocked and blown away that such a religion actually exists. And to me, that shows me that there is a deep need in this world. There's a yearning for community, a yearning for this world theology, this relational theology, and a yearning to express and to explore individual experiences and our place in this world. It's a beautiful thing that more people are longing for, especially as our society becomes more distanced via space, time, and technology. We often have members, come up and share their powerful moments, and you'll hear members coming up today sharing about their spiritual path. And I want more people to have those powerful moments. Moments when the lost are found, moments when the spiritually hungry are fed, moments when the seekers find the path, moments when we work to triumph over injustice, moments when the fragmented are made whole. This is what we are trying to create here. And just as in the various holidays that have different particularities, there are commonalities as well. You'll notice all the holidays utilize light in some way, whether by lighting candles or logs or recognizing the light within each one of us, or the light that is powered by the natural world. These winter holidays, and this day in particular, which is the shortest day of sunlight in our part of the world, are a mirror to our lives as well. We each have moments, days, sometimes even longer stretches when we can't feel the light within us. But like this season of darkness, we are entering into a season of more light day by day. And so let us live with that light in our hearts. Let that candle or log or star in the sky guide us, and may as well guide all who are lost and forsaken, so that they can be made whole. As Albert Camus said, in the midst of winter I finally learned that there was in me an invincible sun. End quote. And we must journey through winter to reach summer. In all aspects of our life, including our religious journey. And I know we have a number of you who were born Unitarian, but many of us, not uncommon, I myself, as well as many of you, come from different religious backgrounds. I was born and raised in the Jewish tradition, and although I stopped attending temple regularly at the age of 17, my Jewish heritage and culture and many parts of my birth religion still have meaning for me. I've studied Eastern religions extensively, specifically Buddhism and Taoism, and of course I'm deeply embedded in the Unitarian Universalism, of which I have practiced for 30 years and studied for its ministry. Someone once referred to me as a Jew-boo-you-you. And I was comfortable with that. And I was comfortable first joining Unitarian Universalism because I did not have to abandon everything that was meaningful to me, but I could incorporate it into my ongoing religious journey. I heard Stark King University, which is a Unitarian Universalist seminary, Professor Abraham Farajage, speak about this, and he called it mixity. Organically developed over time as we incorporate new experience and new wisdom into our consciousness. So not only are we diverse from each other, but each of us carries within ourselves our own diversities. Different ideas, different experiences, different passions. It does not have to be the dichotomy of either or. It can be both and. I can be Jewish and Buddhist and Unitarian Universalist. It's hard to kind of wrap our head around that sometimes. But if we are authentic and open and disciplined in our religious practice, we can incorporate wisdom from many sources. There's a beauty in differences, and we should let those differences become a doorway of wisdom for all of us. May we show up with all of who we are in all of our differences, in all of our wholeness, living in the differences and not disparaging what we fear. What we fear in others' differences, as well as what we may fear in our own differences within ourselves. And so one way to overcome our fear of differences is to engage directly with those differences. Ralph Waldo Emerson, in his essay Nature, states, and I quote, "The stars awaken a certain reverence, because though always present, they are inaccessible. But all natural objects make a kindred impression when the mind is open to their influence. The flowers, the animals, the mountains reflected the wisdom of humanity's best effort, as much as they had delighted the simplicity of their childhood." End quote. The Unitarian transcendentalists loved their nature metaphors. They did. Planting seeds, watering flowers and plants, and watching them grow. It's interesting to read their writings of the 19th century about even how they felt industrialization had alienated them in their time from nature. Imagine how much more so for us. I think of myself especially having grown up in a city of concrete and skyscrapers, and I was enamored with and found deep meaning in nature. Whether it was staring up at the starry night as a child, or even just last week going down to the Mississippi River and sitting there and just watching it flow by endlessly and contemplating as myself how my life has just flowed by as well. And I remember as well back in 2000 for another vivid memory of nature when I sat in my chair for 6 hours as a hurricane passed over our house. It took 6 hours for it to pass, and watching the trees shaking and the house rumbling and just being in awe of nature at that moment. A little scared, but mostly in awe. All of these aspects of nature, the planting, the growth, the wonder, the contemplation, the destruction, is all a mirror into our souls. We can learn about the world around us and about ourselves by observing nature and being in nature. Interacting with nature can teach us things such as courage and conservation, the need for planning and understanding our limitations. By being in nature and experiencing nature, we cannot help but feel a part of something larger than ourselves. Sometimes nature can seem so big that it requires a myth to explain it in all of its grandeurs, as humanity has done throughout its history. And I think about this congregation in particular and its commitment as well to environmental justice. And although part of that is a matter of human survival, part of it is also our recognition of humanity being a part of nature and not something separate from it. These earth-based traditions call us to this integration of humanity and nature. I have to admit, prior to my ever attending a Unitarian Universalist congregation 30 years ago, I had no conception of what earth-based traditions were. And we use that phrase, actually, earth-based tradition, because it actually comes from the sources of our living tradition that we draw from. And it states, this is in actually the bylaws of the UUA, and I quote, "The spiritual teachings of earth-based, earth-centered traditions which celebrate the sacred circle of life and instruct us to live in harmony with the rhythms of nature." So although I didn't have words for it, let's say prior to my introduction to it, I felt it. I felt it every day. As the wind blew my hair, as the cold froze my everything, as the heat of the sun radiated through my body as I walked on the soft grass beneath my feet. Although we're often so cut off from nature and its effects, sitting in our offices or our homes with heat and air conditioning and lights, we cannot deny that it is a part of our existence. These traditions, these earth-based traditions, go back as long as there has been humanity. They are a way to help us understand the world we live in, the world that has sustained us. And they are also a celebration of this world that has sustained us and that we are a part of. For we know that every day the sun will rise and it will set. The tides will roll in and roll out with each and every month. The moon will wax and wane from new to full. And we believe this certainty, this creation that we are a part of. It is something to marvel at, something to reflect on, and as well to pay reverence to. May it be so.